Hey guys, how you doing? I was at the Haha Comedy Club earlier today, and a comic by the name of Franklin Yee brought up my video about stand-up advice, and he was wondering when the next one was going to come out. And I like Franklin. He's a great guy, so I'm putting out this video just for him. This is only for Franklin. It's stand-up advice on how to get on the road. If you're not Franklin, don't watch it. You can stop right here. It's about advice about getting on the road, and Franklin is the one that asked. So please respect his privacy and not watch this video. Alright, so how to get on the road, Franklin. This is only for Franklin. If anybody is still watching this, you better thank Franklin for me putting out this video. Not fixing the lighting. That's the lighting from my laptop. I'm not trying to make this look great, so deal with it. Getting on the road. What every beginning comic dreams of. The one question you have to ask yourself is, what do you want to get from going on the road? Is it to get funnier? Shouldn't you get funnier whether you're on the road or not? I mean, the road does help with development, but it's not all about development, especially if you're planning on making this a career. You should be decently funny already, or you're going to have all the bookers trying to figure out why the headliner brought you on the road. Do you want to get on the road to get money? Newsflash, it's a good way to go broke. It doesn't pay as much as you think at first, so the road is not a place to just get money. But if you want to get on the road because you absolutely and completely want to get on the road, well then that's the step. The first step is that you want to get on the road. You have to be comfortable with being in a car for hours, days, weeks, and sometimes even months if you want to get on the road. You have to be comfortable with staying in sketchy hotels or sleeping on people's couches or sharing rooms with the other comics. I lived out of a suitcase for 4 years of my career to make it on the road. I didn't have an apartment. I gave up everything just to make it on the road. The next important question about getting on the road is, does anyone need you on the road? What do you have to offer anyone that is going to take you on the road? You might be saying, well, I'm funny and I deserve it. Well, then get on the road yourself. Simple as that, if you're funny enough. Luckily, getting on the road has a beginning, and your route will not be like mine. The first guy that took me on the road had a lot of local gigs in Texas. We used my car, mostly, but every now and then we would use some girl that he was dating. We'd use her car. I probably went on the road with him for, just under a year. I really don't remember, but I know I did a lot of gigs. The way that happened was he was headlining a local gig in Dallas, where he had other comedians booked. Now, this gig just happened to be near a comedy club, and the owner of that comedy club told all the comics, if you do this gig, you're now in competition with me, and I'll stop booking you. All the comics dropped out of that show except for the headliner. Well, he needed people to replace it, so he asked me, and I said yes. It wasn't like I was working anyway. And that's how that started. There was an opening for the show. We clicked, and he decided to take me on other gigs. I still had a regular job in between this time, but luckily these gigs were one-nighters all over Texas. So it wasn't hard to go to a gig, come back to my regular job. And he and I did gigs all over Texas together until we stopped doing gigs all over Texas together. The next major moment in my road gig career, another headliner was doing a Texas gig that just happened to be 500 plus miles away from Dallas. He called up the local Dallas club to see if there was any openers that would be available for the gig. And the manager at the time called, coincidentally, the same buddies that dropped the other gig that initially sparked my road adventure. And each of those buddies said no to the gig because they didn't want to drive 500 plus miles to go open for somebody. I said yes, mostly because it was in my hometown and because I told myself to say yes to every gig until I can afford to say no. So I went and I did the gig. And at that moment, that headliner and I clicked, and he decided to take me on more gigs. It just so happened that these gigs were all over the U.S. The first one being Marco Island, Florida, which I drove to from Dallas to the bottom of Florida. It took about 24 hours by myself to do this weekend gig there. And through performing all over the U.S. with this guy, I accomplished the feat of being fired from my job. So I lost my job, and with no safety net, I didn't know exactly what the next step was. The headliner that I was working with, he asked me, he was like, "Are you ready to do this for at least 5 years plus? Are you ready to be uncomfortable living on the road?" And I told him this. I said, I've already put over 5 years into jobs that I hated. I might as well put 5 years into a job that I love. And that was the right answer, is that I was willing to chase this road life because I had already chased what I thought was a regular life. Because of that answer, he and I clicked. He liked it, and he continued to take me on the road until he stopped taking me on the road. And that's the main thing about going on the road, is that you have to click with the person that is taking you on the road, however it may be. You have to click with them. One headliner didn't mind doing road trips with me. That was how we clicked. One headliner asked me if I was willing to put tons of miles on my car, and I even lent him some money, which I never got paid back. And that's how we clicked. One headliner just liked the energy that I brought to the stage. One headliner asked me if I would go on the road and watch their routine and help them break down their set after every show. And one headliner just wanted to take me on the road out of the kindness of their heart. And being on the road with anyone can be great, upsetting, stressful, and lonely all at the same time. But in the end, if you go on the road with any headliner, your job is just to make them happy. Don't step on their toes, stay out of their way, don't interrupt their process. And don't cause them headaches, just be respectful of the world that they're in. It's not easy being a headliner. And here's the kicker. You're going to do all of these things wrong. It just happens. It happens when you live with somebody, and it happens when you live with somebody on the road. Now I can go into more details about each moment that I think I stepped on somebody's toes, and each time that I stepped up to the plate and knocked it out, but that's not what this video is about. We can have those discussions late at night if it ever comes up. Each person you go on the road with has something to offer. They have their shortcomings. They all have their positive qualities, and they all have their demons. You're just going to have to know how to cope with that. What you need to do is your job. You do your job, and not only can I assure you that you'll probably get booked on the next gig, you will possibly get booked at that club if you do your job, which is be funny, be good, be nice, be kind, be courteous. Don't run up a major tab. Just be a good person when you're there performing. Appreciate the person that took you on the road, the club that let you perform with that headliner, because clubs can say, no, you're not going to perform. And just be appreciative of everything that happens, because it goes away. All right? It just has to go away. That's the process of becoming a stand-up comic, or a road comic. Just when it gets good, you have to grow and go to the next level where it's going to get uncomfortable again. So just do your job, whatever that job may be, whether it's hosting, featuring, handling a meet and greet, helping out with merch, or any other thing that the headliner says that you need to do for them. Now, of course, don't put yourself in situations that you don't want to do, but realize that may be the thing that takes you off the road, and that's okay. If a headliner stops working with you, don't take it as an insult. Just take it as a moment of, all right, time to figure this out again. Okay? If you were a good person, and if you were decent, and if you did what you knew was right with you, then you're doing what's right for you. If you knew you messed up, well, then you messed up, man. Own up to it, and don't do it again. Apologize. If they accept your apology, maybe they'll get you on the road again. Maybe they've already found a replacement. I'm sorry. That's the way it happens. Now, if you happen to be on tour with a headliner for a long time, well then you'll slowly learn what they like around them, what they like to talk about, what they don't want to talk about, and you just do that. All right? You just make them happy because they are the star of the show, not you. And I know there's a lot of features out there that, in their head they're like, I should be the headliner, I should be the one knocking it out. Well, until a club or a venue or a tour or a festival or anyone says you're a headliner, you're not. Sometimes I'm a headliner, sometimes I'm just the last person on the show, sometimes I'm a feature. I don't mind being a host because I know that whatever I agree to is the job that I agree to. Now, the other way to get on the road is just to do it all on your own. How do you just do it all on your own? You just say yes to every gig until you can afford to say no. And even after you can afford to say no, you still say yes. Why? Because what goes up must come down, and those gigs are going to be the ones that are going to be there. So say yes, and whatever you agree to is what you get. The end. All right? If you agree to a gig that pays little, you can't complain about it. You said yes, and that was your choice. But that's what's going to keep you on the road. You decide your pace as much as you can. Now, if you need to submit a tape to get on the road, please make it a good looking tape. Don't just set up an iPhone that doesn't have a white balance and you're all flushed out and the sound's terrible and you didn't really even do the set that you want because you did a lot of crowd work, but the 4 minutes you need to submit's right in the middle, so you just submit the whole thing. Do it right. Make a tape right and make it current. Learn that part of your job because this is now part of your job. All right? We don't have resumes that we can just submit and hope that it pays off. Sometimes we have to have actual footage or actual performance. We have to show them that we can do the job. We can't just tell them we can do the job. And if you can tell them you can do the job, then you better do it. That's it. You want to get on the road, say yes to all the gigs. Say yes to all the gigs and learn how to do it. And just keep pulling it off. And just keep getting funny. Now, how do you get funny? By respecting the performance. By actually putting in the effort. Do everything you can. I don't know how to continue to explain this. You want to get on the road? Get on the road. If you're not on the road, you're slipping up somewhere. Maybe nobody wants to drive you around. Maybe you don't have a car. Maybe you're terrible at just talking. Maybe you're hard to be around. Maybe your demons are getting in the way because a headliner only wants to deal with their demons. A club only wants to deal with people that are easy to work with. So figure out what's stopping you and fix it because this is the time that you need to humble yourself. You need to take that ego down a notch. You need to take those vices out of your life and really make this work. If a club doesn't book you, don't get upset and definitely don't attack the booker. They just don't want to book you, and that's okay. You just need to keep getting funny, and hopefully they'll book you or somebody else will book you. Do not do anything at year 2 that will affect you at year 13. This is what you do. Hey, can I work your club? If they say no, say, all right, thank you. Hopefully one day I can work your club. The end. That's it. Don't get hurt. They have their system. They have their way of vetting who they think should perform at their club, and that's all right. Respect their system. There's plenty of venues, and if you've burned bridges at all the venues, that's you, man. So don't do that. And pull off the job when you finally get the chance. I mean, pull it off. Don't go up there messing around. Don't go up there just because it's a small crowd. You're going to be like, you know what? I'm just going to call it in. It's not your job to call it in, especially if you're trying out. It's your job to do the job, no matter how big the crowd is. It's not the crowd's fault that they may be small, that they may be spread out. It's not their fault. They're there. Do your best. Have a good time. All right? Get funny. Get paid. Get on the road. To recap, say yes to every gig until you can afford to say no. Keep saying yes. Treat every headliner you work with as much respect as you can. Keep getting funnier. And finally, the last thing you need to do is stay as healthy as possible. Okay? A road comic needs to take care of a few things. Club relationships, his body, and his car. Because if one of those goes bad, the other two suffer. and now you're off the road. All right, so just make sure you take care of at least those things: your club relationships, your body, and your car. All right, that'll be my first part of how to go on the road. I know, Franklin, that you asked for other things such as how to host, how to get into festivals and all that, and I'll tell those on another video. That's another subject. How to host is a whole nother subject. How to get in festivals, submit, get a good video, submit, hope they have you, or just do the job when they see you. Like festivals are festivals. It depends on which one you want. They all have their own criteria, and just like getting into clubs, each booker has what they like. They have their system, and you got to respect that system. Yes, there will be a few festivals and clubs, maybe many festivals and clubs that won't work you now. They won't work you now. That doesn't mean that they won't work you later. Just keep plugging away. I'll get to your other questions eventually, but this one was all about how to get on the road. All right, Franklin, I hope you enjoyed this. You're a good guy. I really love talking to you. That's why I always go back to the DJ booth and at the Ha Ha, because I think you're a great guy, and you're fun to be around, at least for those minutes that I'm around you. And I know you're thinking, oh, well, then why don't you take me on the road, Nick? Well, Franklin, because I don't have the option right now to take everybody on the road. It's simple as that. There's a lot of clubs that won't let me do it. I'm a low-level headliner. I can barely ask to get certain things in my green room, much less ask for a whole nother human being to be on a show. But if you keep doing your job and keep getting funny, and then eventually, hopefully, I get to that place where I can bring somebody. Maybe it'll match, maybe it'll all click, and then maybe we'll be able to go on the road together. Or you'll surpass me, and you'll go on the road on your own, or you'll find somebody else. It's just all about everything clicking, and when it clicks, and hopefully it clicks long enough for you to make the next step in your career. All right, guys. I mean Franklin, not guys, because it should only have been Franklin watching this. See you later. Hope that was enough.